Well, good afternoon. Could I ask everyone to stand, please? And Lori Lang, our COO, will lead us in the invocation.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Today we give thanks for the opportunity to care for our community. We are ever mindful of this great responsibility to provide healing and hope to those we serve. We ask that our efforts be guided by wisdom, compassion, and understanding. We join the hospital board in seeking this insight to make decisions that will lead to a better and healthier community. May all that is done here today be for the good of those who have placed their trust in the Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System's leadership. Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you, and I'll call the October meeting to order. Before we get started, I do have a statement to read relative to public comment. Any citizen desiring to address the hospital board should turn in a speaker's card to the board secretary. If the citizen comment pertains to an item on the agenda today, the comment will be heard early in this meeting. Otherwise, it will be heard towards the end. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes. Vendors, suppliers, or other persons seeking hospital contracts awarded on a competitive basis are reminded that their ability to address the board may be restricted by terms of the invitation for bid, request for proposal, or other purchasing criteria. Lastly, the board has established a claims adjustment review panel comprised of representatives of the board, the medical staff, administration, and legal counsel to review and negotiate the settlement of claims. Accordingly, the board will not entertain comments on or discuss or negotiate claims at this meeting. Thank you. All right, to start, I'll ask for a motion approving the orders of the day.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the September 16th meeting. Please.
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Thank you. We don't have any board reports, so we'll move right on to the speaker. And if I could ask Dr. Seaman to introduce our speaker today, please.
Yes, it's a pleasure to introduce Dr. Kirk Volker. He's one of our pulmonary critical care physicians here at the hospital and a leader in bronchoscopic lung volume reduction surgery. He's actually a Sarasota native, having graduated from Riverview High School, attended University of Florida, spent some time in Orlando doing his internal medicine training, and in California doing his fellowship. And today he's going to give us some information about bronchoscopic lung volume reduction.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Seaman. And just full disclosure, Dr. Seaman is the only other person in this area that's doing this procedure with me. So I thought we should, like Dr. Seaman said, I am from Sarasota. Went to school at Philippi Shores, Brookside, Riverview. And for the last decade, I've had the honor to be Director of Clinical Research. Today, I'd sort of like to take you through how we go from a need in Sarasota to research to actual implementation of a program, all in about 5 or 6 minutes. Emphysema is a big deal. It has a significant impact on hospitalizations, morbidity, and mortality. There are thousands of patients in Sarasota with emphysema. Emphysema, I tell my patients, is sort of like if your lung is a sponge. It's like pouring acid on the sponge, and it actually eats holes in areas of the lung. Once those areas are destroyed, they're not coming back. And that's sort of a graphic view of it. The way emphysema affects people clinically is that we all lose some lung volume and some lung function over time as we grow older. That's just part of it. God gives you twice as much lung capacity as you really need. When you smoke, there's an accelerated deterioration of your lung function. So the people that we're dealing with are sort of the people at the bottom of that curve where it says stop smoking. So those that are disabled from their emphysema. You can see on that curve that the most important thing you can do if you have emphysema is stop smoking. it will prolong your life. None of the medications, nothing else we do has that same effect. Standard of care is usually inhalers. And this is one of the newest, bestest inhalers that we have, that we were actually part of the clinical trial here in Sarasota to help develop this and bring it to the FDA. But inhalers only go so far. So we started looking at different ways of approaching emphysema. About 15 years ago, we started looking at a trial in which we poked little holes in the lungs and put little rice-sized stents in to help deflate the lungs a little bit so people could breathe better. It worked, but it didn't last. People would cough them up or they'd get clogged up. We were the top center in the United States for enrolling in that trial. This is the article from The Lancet that brought us to the attention in this area. From that, even though the trial didn't work, we started getting some attention as a center that does clinical research in emphysema. One of the other ways we started looking at treating emphysema is with what we call endobronchial volume reduction, placing little valves in the lung, in the bad areas of the lung, so it redirects air to the good areas. Now, these valves, we started placing them probably about 15 years ago. And essentially what they also do is, you can see that green area is the normal lung that has emphysema in it. It's overinflated, it's smushing the good lung. So by putting these valves in, it reduces the volume of that bad lung, expanding the good lung, so people breathe easier. One of the first trials that we were involved in was with a different valve than we're currently using, and it demonstrated there was a benefit in some patients, but not everyone. And the problem was, and we were probably about the fourth or fifth top enrolling center in the United States in this trial. The problem is that it was with selection. We then went and did a trial with another company, the current one that we're using. And their initial trial, and again, we were in the top 4 or 5 in the country to enroll in this trial. This trial, again, showed that even though it worked in some people, we needed better ways to identify who it would work in. So finally, they went and refined the valves. These are actually what the valves look like. They're like little umbrellas that we put in the lungs using a bronchoscope. And that's a valve in the lung itself. Recently, just a few months ago, we've published the information on this, and we were the second to top enrolling site in the United States, again, giving us some national recognition in this area. What the trial showed was that in our patients with emphysema, placing these valves in this certain select population significantly helped their spirometry values. It helped their quality of life, how much they could do with a reasonable safety profile. So in August of this year, we started the SMH endobronchial lung volume reduction program that Dr. Seaman is heading up. Although we were not the very first in Florida to start a program, we are the most experienced in Florida. Actually, one of the most experienced in the United States in this. We have been involved in the top enrollers in 3 out of the 4 major trials. That has earned our research center some credibility in this area of interventional lung volume reduction. What's happening in the future? With the Clinical Research Center, we have another trial that we're looking at trying to open up bronchial airways by denervating using radiofrequency ablation. And Dr. Seaman's doing one that he just finished a meeting in which we use cold cryotherapy to decrease chronic bronchitis. So we are not only have this program that we've started with the valves, that we're just starting up right now. We continue to do research in this area and are one of the leaders in the nation in this. Thank you. Any questions?
Doctor, question. Of the monies that you use to perform your research, is that 100% funded by SMH, or are there third parties that,
Okay, there are two different things that we do. We do clinical trials such as this, and that is 100% funded by the companies.
okay,
And then there's a area for independent physician research, which is virtually 100% funded by the foundation.
oh, okay, great,
So we do both.
fantastic. Any,
Doctor, excuse me, well done. A question, the umbrella, does that stay in the lung, or is it
It
stretches it?
stays in the
and it's
lung,
taken- really?
but if for some reason pneumonia or it's not working in a patient, they feel worse on it, we can easily remove it.
And how many umbrellas at one time would you put in the lung? Just the one?
No, you can put anywhere, average is about 3, but you can put up to 5, depending on how many it takes to occlude that
Got
area.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, thank you very much.
Well done.
Next, we'll move on. David, I understand we have several awards today.
We do.
All right.
So I'd like to start by introducing our Excel Award winner for October 2019 and invite Ben Dipker to come up and join me. Ben? Stand over here. Made me look good. So the Excel Award winner for October is Ben Dipker. Ben is the Program Disease Coordinator for our disease-specific programs. He's been an employee at SMH since January of 2009. Ben's colleagues say that he is a wonderful advocate, not just for the patient, but also for nurses and clinicians. He always goes above and beyond to ensure that we can provide the highest quality of care. A superb communicator who also is kind and respectful. Ben is highly effective in motivating himself and others to achieve positive outcomes. Each member of the team feels valued by him. Ben is extremely knowledgeable about advances in stroke treatments and technology. He has played an important role in the success of Comprehensive Stroke Center and has been working hard to implement a telemedicine program to advance the delivery of care. Ben is an excellent role model, which is why he is a key part of the orientation process for new employees in a nurse residency program. Ben, thank you for everything. Thank you. It's a privilege to have you here. Here, walk over here. Yeah. He's gonna get up.
The Excel Award. Excel recipients are employees who are models of excellence and consistently demonstrate the mission, vision, and values of our organization. They are superior performers that make an extra effort in the quality and care of our patients and families and community. The hospital board and administrative staff of Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System recognizes you, Ben, with the Excel Award for the month of October 2019. Thank you for your continued dedication to excellence. And it's signed by David Verner, President and CEO, and Joe DiVirgilio, the Chairman of the Board. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Crowe.
Yeah, you have to.
We did this last time.
Yes, we did.
I just want to kind of thank everybody who nominated me for this award. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be actually selected for it as well. But it's my pleasure to work with such a great team, great leadership, work for a wonderful organization that SMH is. I love the people, love the program, and we give fantastic care to our patients, and it's all about the people. And I'm very happy to be part of that team. So thank you.
Terrific.
Congratulations.
Well done.
David, I understand we have a leadership award for the fourth quarter.
As a matter of fact, we do. So I'd like to take a moment to reintroduce our leader of the fourth quarter 2019 to the board, Harold Vore. Harold, come up and join me. Stand up here. Think about your speech for a minute. All right. Kidding. And as I know the board knows Harold because he had the privilege of coming in and presenting to our board earlier this morning in mission planning. So
You got $1 million there, an award here
yeah,
today.
there you go.
What a
Right.
day, I'll tell you.
So our leader of the fourth quarter 2019 is Harold Vore, who has been director of our lab services since September of 2015. Here are just a few of the wonderful comments from his many nominations. Harold has completely transformed the laboratory in his first 4 years at SMH. His impact began when he led the upgrade of our SunQuest laboratory information system, followed by the complete automation of the laboratory's core functions. SMH is leading the nation with this technology. Harold has earned the respect of his team and colleagues through thoughtful leadership. He has provided a clear and concise vision for the future of the lab while providing staff with the necessary tools to accomplish our goals. Harold is hardworking and committed to finding solutions. He is a great communicator and an even better listener. Harold takes a personal interest in everyone and challenges them to be the best they can be. Even with 100-plus employees, he makes everyone feel like they're an important part of the team. When an employee is going through a crisis, such as loss of a family member or illness, Harold goes out of his way to make sure they have his support. Harold, on behalf of the community, we thank you for everything you do and you've brought to us. Thank you.
Leadership Award. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, become more, you are a leader. The hospital board and administrative staff of Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System present you, Harold, with the Leadership Award for the fourth quarter 2019, with thanks to your continued dedication to excellence. And signed by David Mariner, President and CEO, and Joe DiVirgilio, Chair of the Board. Congratulations.
Ditto everything that Ben said. He said it very well, and I agree with everything he said. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been a lab guy for 30 years. And there's something special about Sarasota Memorial, and I don't just say that. I can't put my finger on all of it, but it's an honor to work here. It's an honor to be a part of the team. I thank all of you for your leadership. I thank David. I would like to especially recognize the best boss I've ever had by far. So thank you, Lord. I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have a medical staff report. Dr. Seaman, anything?
No report this month.
Well, I'll use that time then to thank you personally for your leadership over the past year as the chief of staff of the hospital. I know I can speak for the board in general here that you've done a heck of a job, if nothing else, really refocusing the peer review and the report there around the important things and allowing us to get that through on a timely basis. So I appreciate that. On a personal level, you and I have worked on a particular individual. It's very difficult, and I appreciate your support there. So on behalf of the board, I really appreciate it, and I think the board wants to stand up and recognize you.
Thank you. It's been an honor to represent the medical staff and to work with you all on various projects. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Well, with all this free time, it sounds like you'll be doing a lot more research. I think he teed that up really well, that he's welcoming you back, so that's excellent. The incoming chief, Alyssa Schulman, will be joining us at the next meeting. She wasn't able to be here. She has that little thing called a practice that she has to deal with. So anyway, she'll be at the next meeting, and Dr. Seaman set a very high bar, but she's assured us at the previous meeting that we had that she'll be able to reach to that and take us to the next level. So
I'm leaving you in very capable hands.
that's
So.
great. Great. Well, anyway, Dr. Seaman, thank you.
Thanks.
Next up is Mason Harris Foundation report. And we already found out where some of your money's going into research.
Oh, absolutely. Just wanted, did you guys get this in your mailbox?
Yes,
SMH today?
yep,
This
just
beautiful
received it
piece
this week.
is a product of Peter Taylor and his team. Didn't have a chance, in the middle of the publication is the foundation newsletter called Impact. And in this edition, there is a wonderful article on what we call our grants in action. These are the grants that the foundation has made to the hospital. And those are all made possible through our generous donor community. So we're very grateful that the community continues to step forward and support the wonderful work the hospital does each and every day. Also, you may have received this in your mailbox. This is what we call Vantage Point, and this is our Plan Giving newsletter. This piece is a program for those that are interested in leaving a legacy with the foundation that will ultimately benefit the hospital. So we are truly pleased and grateful to be able to share these with the community, and that concludes my report.
All right, well, thank you. And I also want to thank you. I've had the opportunity for the last 2 years to represent the board as an ex officio member of the foundation board, and I've completed my term, and someone will, on this group, will be joining you in the future, and I found it very enlightening, and I got to tell you, you have a board that really does drive hard there, so,
Thank you, Jerry.
you know, they keep you on the straight and narrow, I saw that.
Absolutely.
But it's a great board, and they really are committed to the hospital, and thank you.
Thank you for serving on the hospital board.
Appreciate that. Greg Carter, Secretary's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The schedule for next month, November, will be on Monday, November 18th. We'll have our Governance Effectiveness Committee starting at 9 o'clock. At 10:30, we'll go to the second committee of Finance Committee. And at noon, we'll have a closed session of the hospital board meeting. At 12:30, we'll have our board lunch and issue a financial review. And we'll move at 2 o'clock here for our board meeting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Greg. Next up, Treasurer's report. Sharon Wetzel de Peters.
Yes, thank you. I seek approval of bad debts and charity care with a motion. I move approval of the bad debts and charity care for the month ended September 30th, 2019, in the amount of $27,928,000.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you. That completes my treasurer's report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Sharon. All right, we'll move right on then to financial highlights. Bill Wojin, our CFO. Bill?
Good afternoon, thank you. September was the last month of our fiscal year, and therefore we keep the books open a few weeks longer than usual to prepare for the audit. So therefore, I won't have financial information, but I do have the statistical information, the highlights thereof. So we'll start with the hospital's average daily occupancy, actual of 577 patients compared to a budget of 551. Our average acute length of stay this year, 2019, was 4.29 compared to last year, 4.44. On the admissions side, we had 43,120 admissions compared to a budget of 37,524. Our surgery cases for the hospital, 24,685 compared to a budget of 24,233. For births, we had 4,012 compared to a budget of 3,596. In outpatient registrations, we had 458,626 compared to a budget of 469,819. And emergency care center registrations between our two ECCs, both here at the hospital and in South County at Northport, 125,195, and up against a budget of 123,231. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Bill? All righty, thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to committee reports, and it looks like it's the Greg Carter show. We'll first start with the Mission and Planning Committee. Greg Carter, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mission and Planning Board met earlier today, and our Chief Operating Officer, Lori Lang, and Chief Financial Officer, Bill Wolchin, provided the committee with an update on the Cancer Center in Venice. To begin the presentation, the committee heard an overview of Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System strategic roundup roadmap, which reiterated the board's vision of the Cancer Institute and revisited the planned service expansion and collaboration that would occur to create the institute. In Venice, the services offered would include radiation oncology, PET and CT diagnostic services, and medical oncology offices. The presentation continued with an explanation of the facility strategy of the Cancer Center at Venice, including discussion of the ownership and development structure for the building. The committee then reviewed the timeline for the phased development of the Cancer Center, including the expectation that the Cancer Center at Venice will seek approval for the facility funding request in 2020 and is slated to open in late 2022. The next item was about microbiology automation, the final phase in the laboratory automation process. The lab, which impacts over 3,500 patients' lives each day, has been progressing to full automation since 2015. After hearing about the project's costs, benefits to patients, and its projected return on investment, the committee made the motion to recommend that the board approve the funding request. And therefore, I move approval of the funding for the automation of the laboratory microbiology services in an amount not to exceed $1,052,000 as recommended by the Mission and Planning Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Great. Greg?
Okay, finally, the committee heard about progress on plans for the new building for the Bayside Behavioral Health. In furtherance of those plans, the committee was presented with the results of the public selection process for architectural and engineering services related to Bayside. The committee passed a motion to recommend that the board approve the proposed ranking selections. Therefore, I move approval of the ranking of the following entities for architectural and engineering services to verify programming and site location and provide a conceptual design and preliminary cost model as recommended by the Public Selection Committee and the Mission and Planning Committee. First place was Flad Architects, second was Plunkett Research Architects, LLP, and third was Carlson RTKL, Inc.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Well, that concludes your first report. Now we move on to Governance Committee, and it just so happens Greg Carter is chair of that also. Greg?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Earlier today, the Governance Committee met to consider realignment of some of the responsibilities among the various board committees. The committee recommended that the review of the system's president and CEO be moved from the board's Human Resources Committee to its Governance Committee, both of which are committees of the whole, and that the bylaws and required frequency of meetings for those committees be changed to reflect the realigned responsibilities. Therefore, I move approval of the amendments to the board bylaws as recommended by the Governance Committee.
Motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
Clarify for me which committee the responsibilities are from and to?
From HR to the Governance Committee.
Governance.
To which?
Governance.
Governance. Okay. Thank you.
Greg, anything further?
That concludes my report, and I'm done for the day.
Excellent. Quality Committee, Sharon Wetzel DePeters, Chair.
Yes, I have no motions to approve. However, we did have outstanding presentations today, and that Christy Rennan-Lewis presented a patient advocacy program that was wonderful in success rates that she had shown us. We also had an outstanding quality safety dashboard presentation by Mary Gary, And she continued on with patient safety program updates and followed by our CMO, Dr. James Fiorico's report. Our meeting was adjourned at a qualified time, and that completes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Righty, with that, we'll move on to the President's report. David Beringer, President and CEO. David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm gonna start like I do every month and talk about our organizational report card. We are, this is our, as Bill Wojin mentioned earlier, our fiscal year end was September 30th, so these numbers reflect our entire fiscal year from last year. We start by looking at our service indicator, and we have our goal there all year long has been to keep our likelihood of recommending our number of services greater than or equal to 75th percentile at a 8 or above, 8 out of 10 or above. I'm happy to report for the year we have had 9 out of our 10 meet the 75th percentile or above, and I'll show you the detail on that here in a minute. In the people sector, we have our goal is to have our turnover of part-time and full-time employees that have been hired within the last 12 months to be at 24% or lower. I am happy to report that we also exceeded that goal at 21.87%, really the lowest number that we've had in that since we started measuring. In the quality sector, we have our goal is to have our infection prevention, our combined overall standardized infection rate, less than 0.93. Just to remind the board, 1.0 or is both the national average and the expected number on the infection rate. Happy to report that for the year we came in at 0.71, so really 2 standard deviations off of the national number.
Yeah, outstanding. Thank you.
No, thanks to our staff, our medical staff and our nursing staff and all of our clinicians. Our finance goal, as Bill did not report on because he didn't want to show you the numbers, but I'll show you where our organizational margin came in at. Is preliminary we have a goal of hitting budget at 6.5%, with our preliminary numbers at 12.2% operating margin. And finally, in growth, we have strategic growth goals. Our first one being inpatient admissions and observation outpatients at 46,070. We exceeded that and hit 50,288, so we were very busy this year. And our outpatient registrations, our goal was at 894,000. We did exceed that as well at 902,815. So looking a little deeper into our patient experience report card, as you can tell, you can see the departments on the far left and under likelihood of recommending. Then you see our final score, what our final score was. What the national median was next, and then what the 75th percentile is. And you can see that we did hit 9 out of 10 of our departments at the 75th percentile or above. The ER at the main campus being the one that just barely missed it, but they did hit it for the 50th percentile or the national median. So we really much appreciate all the hard work by our staff to make our visitors and guests comfortable this year. So SMH puts ROSA, the knee robot, to work. SMH recently introduced our new addition to the SMH's growing robotic program, Robotic Surgical Assistant, also known as ROSA. The technology offers greater precision and customization for patients undergoing knee and replacement surgery. So we did our first surgery here this past month with Dr. Stolarski and Dingle performing those cases, and they are very excited about what this new technology offers to the community. Next up is our innovative technology earns a Vanguard Award. Sarasota Memorial's robotic bronchoscopy team recently won the Monarch Vanguard Award from Auris Health. Am I saying that right, Dr. Seaman?
Correct.
Okay, Auris Health for excellence in transforming medical intervention with the Monarch robot. The hospital was honored for being one of the first 10 centers in the United States chosen to deploy the technology to lung cancer patients. The system is used to view the inside of the lungs and obtain tissue samples for biopsy, enabling earlier and more accurate diagnosis of small and hard-to-reach lung nodules. So you can see the picture there with our own Dr. Seaman. So we appreciate your leadership in that, and also Dr. Chomiak. Paul Chomiak is the other physician that works in that. And while we're on that, Dr. Seaman, I do want to just thank you from hospital administration. I know the board thanked you earlier, but we very much appreciated your leadership in this role this past year, and we'll miss you, okay? Thank you. Teen volunteers reach out to seniors. Members of SMH's Senior Advisory Council recently joined the hospital's teen volunteers and several staff members for a lunch and learn to discuss the new REACH initiative, a pilot program in which young volunteers visited patients 65 and older on selected nursing units to offer friendly conversation and activities. By all accounts, REACH, which stands for Reliable, Energetic, Active, Compassionate Helpers, was a big success to both patients and volunteers. So SMH launched a new podcast season, and I think we're very excited about how it's going to go forward. So on September 30th, the International Podcast Day, which I didn't know was such a thing until September 30th, SMH launched its latest season of podcast series, SMH Healthcast, hosted by veteran medical journalist Heidi Godman. The new season features an all-new video format. New episodes will be released twice a month and feature interviews with SMH experts covering a wide range of topics from technological advances to medical milestones to the latest health risk and screening guidelines. You can subscribe to the HealthCast series through your favorite podcast app, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And I would just encourage the public to do exactly that and go online, subscribe to us, and get word out about because I think you're going to see some great speakers with a lot of information coming up. And put it in your phone, and that way the phone will remind you every time we get one come out.
And I think the board suggested maybe a hot button or something on the SMH website.
You know,
to link that.
Mr. G. Virgilio, I think I remember the board saying that. I'm happy to report that Mr. Taylor's in the audience and has now heard that again. And so.
I spoke it strategically then.
Yes, so I think that's an excellent idea. Thank you for mentioning that. So, another thing we had opportunity to do this past month was have a picnic for our staff and the great work that they did this past year. We recently hosted a fall festival themed picnic for the hospital to honor staff and volunteers' hard work and accomplishments over the past year. I know several of our board members were able to come out and celebrate with us. So I will tell you that means a lot to the staff when you're able to do that. And just thank you for taking your time to come out. I will tell you, I think everybody had a great time. Celebrating patient service success, patient experience results were among SMH's many successes in 2019. Even though SMH's 2019 admissions significantly increased over 2018 levels, patient experience survey results were very positive, with the number of patients who said they would recommend SMH to others exceeding both the national average and, of course, the 75th percentile. Among the staff, recognizing the results were members of our patient experience managers team, pictured above with celebrating with juice and party hats. The group represents a number of clinical and support areas that helps introduce new initiatives to impact specific areas of patient satisfaction.
Great.
Family medicine, a family medicine specialist joins First Physicians Group. SMH recently welcomed Dr. Christopher Jensen to the First Physician Group Network. Dr. Jensen specializes in family medicine for patients of all ages and has joined Dr. Megan Butler at FPG's new primary care practice in Venice. He comes to Sarasota from the University of Vermont Medical Center in Burlington, Vermont, where he taught as an assistant professor in family medicine department. Dr. Jensen received his medical degree from Emory University in Atlanta in 1990, prior to serving as an undersea medical officer with the U.S. Navy in Italy until 1995. He completed his residency in family medicine with the University of Vermont in 1998. So please welcome Dr. Jensen. Our staff celebrated our annual Freedoms Award. SMH recently served as a sponsor for the 34th Annual Freedom Awards hosted by the Sarasota Memorial branch of the NAACP. The rewards recognize outstanding citizens and businesses in the community working to improve the quality of life for all of our residents. So, Mr. Carter, you've been certainly a longtime member, board member coming to this and participating every year and representing the hospital. We very much appreciate it.
Glad to do it.
So SMH supports South County's children's event. Children and adults in the recent Gene Matthews Boys and Girls Club 13th Annual Day for Kids event had an opportunity to learn more about Sarasota Memorial's emergency room and healthcare center in Northport. The facility has participated in community events for years. Appreciate everybody turning out for that. The staff shares expertise in Venice Expo. A number of Sarasota Memorial staff participated in the recent Venice Chamber Business Expo, sharing information about a variety of SMH services, ranging from urgent care and first physician group medical practices to Cancer Institute programs. Once again, appreciate people in Venice coming out for that. Our Venice Hospital update, the hospital site has been cleared, deep foundations are complete. 50% of the first floor columns have been poured and the second floor slab pours have started. Still projecting opening for fall of 2021. I am sure if you drive on Laurel Road or I-75 on Laurel Road, by Laurel Road, you will see some significant progress going up, and we hope we will see a whole lot more in the very near future. On Oncology Tower construction update, our site work is near completion. The 8-story tower, which will have 56 new private patient rooms and 9 new ORs, will begin going vertical in early December. Once again, we have a projected opening of fall 2021. So. I would like to thank our construction team and Lori Lang. I mean, we're really, this whole thing's starting to go up and lots is going on, and we're feeling very little impact to the campus because of all your planning. So very much appreciate that. Finally, we always have our community lectures. We certainly have quite a few coming up. I would recommend to anyone interested in going to those in our community, just go on our website and see what topics and times and places that we have those coming. They're always free to go to. We just simply ask that you RSVP so we can get some head count on it. And you can find all that on our website. And that is the end of my report. I'm glad to answer any questions. Are you coming up?
No, I was going to tell you,
Okay.
tell them I didn't fill out a card. We're having an XL reception for all the past XL winners, November 6th at 2:30 in the auditorium.
Jim, why don't you say that?
Sorry. Hi, I'm Jim Tullerton, and we sponsor the XL program. Periodically, we have a kind of an omnibus reception for all the XL winners, and we're going to have our next one on Wednesday, November 6th at 2:30 in the auditorium, and I think it'd be obviously nice if any of the board members are able to attend and recognize these folks. We did a study, and something like 40% of all the winners over the last 30 years are either still here today, or retired out of Sarasota Memorial, which I think is a tremendous tribute to Sarasota Memorial. So,
Thank you, James.
thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Collins.
What time?
What time is it, Jim?
2:30, Wednesday the 6th.
All right.
Any questions
Anything
for me?
else? Any questions of David? All right, David, thank you. By the way, excellent year. If we didn't say it already, we did finish the fiscal year, and the results were tremendous. So always tough to build off of that year, and but I know you guys will do your darndest. So
We will, and I'll pass it on to staff, so thank you.
great, thank you. Consent agenda. Anything on the agenda? All righty. Any public comments? Other than Jim? There you go. Any legal matters?
None.
None. And I don't think we have any other business, so hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.